Welcome to Season 6, Episode 6 of Stick to Sports. I'm Brian Burrows.
And I'm Ben Diamond. Today, we take a look at some surprising MLB starts and the NBA playoffs.
Roll it! The Oakland A's have turned things around. Following a slow start to the season, they were 1-7. They've gone on a hot stretch of winning 6 of their last 9 games and winning 3 straight series, beating the Tigers, Rangers, and most recently the Nationals. A mix of veteran pitching and young hitters has started to change the narrative on this Oakland team from easy walkover to potential challenge. They're coming up on a stretch of harder opponents, though, with the Guardians, Yankees, and Orioles all to play before the end of the month. Has Oakland become an actual challenge to big league teams, or is this just a quick stretch of decent play?
I mean, right now you could say maybe it is just a stretch of decent play for this Athletics team, but they took a series from the defending champ Texas Rangers. That's nothing to sniff at because their lineup might even be better than it was last season. But also their young players right now having a lot more experience in the MLB. They're coming to their second or third seasons, giving them a little more seasoning, and maybe that they become more comfortable. But there's still a lot of dysfunction in the organization as a whole. So if they're able to block out that noise, maybe they can become more of a formidable foe to to the rest of the MLB than they have been in the last few years. But we'll have to wait and see if this stretch can continue.
Yeah, I think this is very much just like a quick stretch. I mean, the Rangers thing is no small feat, but the Nationals are easy. The Tigers aren't the best team out there. This next stretch of games is really going to be the litmus test for them. It's nice to see, though, that they aren't just a glorified AAA team right now, even though they'll be playing in a AAA park in a couple of seasons or next season. But I think you mentioned that the young hitter Shea Langeliers coming into his own has been really nice to see the big piece of that Sean Murphy trade a couple of years back. And Mason Miller has looked absolutely gross. He throws consistently over 100. He was hitting like 104 the other night, which has been really cool to see. So they have some young players that are still going to be fun to watch, give people a reason to watch this Oakland team, even though no one's going to be in the stadium for them.
The Kansas City Royals have gotten off to a hot start at 11-6 after finishing last season with an abysmal 56-106 record. With shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. taking another step forward to start the 2024 season and great results from Cole Reagans and the rest of the starting rotation, the Royals look to be in a better spot than they were last year. Do you think the Royals can keep up this play consistently throughout the season, Brian?
I think this is very much sustainable for this Royals squad. The front office did an excellent job this offseason going out and getting veterans to surround their young core. They brought in Michael Wacha, Hunter Renfroe, and Seth Lugo, among other veterans, to just kind of solidify your team. That's what you want to do when you have a young core, and none of them are on massive contracts, so it's not going to eat up any of the money for long term, but it's a great way to just like build around your team and give your young players some support. Bobby Witt has been a monster. You mentioned him. He's got over 1,000 OPS. Salvador Perez is still playing at a good rate for now, as more pretty much a DH. And Brady Singer and Cole Reagans have looked very good at the top of the rotation. I'm very excited to see what Cole Reagans can be for this Royals team in a year or two.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I feel like the entire season really hinges on the pitching staff because, as you said, they brought in guys like Seth Lugo, like Michael Wacha, these veteran guys that, middle table pitchers in the MLB. But they can be serviceable, and they've shown that so far, being really, really consistent. Have a little bit of shaky starts, but not too bad to the point where they're absolutely getting blown out. And then this offense has the offensive pieces that they can score runs. They just need to consistently. Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be at the center of that, and I know if he's on, this lineup will be firing on all cylinders.
The Chicago Cubs have had a solid start to the season, going 9-6 with series wins over the Dodgers, Rockies, and now the Mariners. New signing Shoto Imanaga is yet to give up an earned run in his first 3 starts, and Michael Busch has hit home runs in 4 straight games. Seiya Suzuki, who was hitting over 300 in the first 15 games, just got put on the 15-day IL, though, with an oblique strain. Will losing Suzuki cause the Cubs to cool off, or will they be fine for the time being?
I mean, it's a brutal loss for the Cubs. I mean, Suzuki's been fantastic to start the season, but I think the loss hurts the most if guys like Cody Bellinger, guys like Dansby Swanson don't start to show up. Right now, to start the season, I know he didn't have a lot of spring training because of the long free agent holdout, but Cody Bellinger currently batting 172 on the season, and if he's supposed to be your top guy in the middle of the lineup, and he's only hitting 172, your lineup's not going to do anything. So if he's able to pick it up in Suzuki's absence, absolutely, I don't think the loss is going to be that bad. But Dansby Swanson as well, Nico Horner, two other guys that really need to step it up in the lineup if they don't want this absence to hurt as much as it will.
Yeah, they have a tough series right now against the Diamondbacks. It's going to be tough with the reigning NL champs. But then they get Miami, Houston, Boston, and the New York Mets. Four squads that are not the best teams in baseball. I mean, Miami's really struggling. Houston's had a rough start to the season. Boston's up and down, and so have been the Mets. They're also in a relatively weak division in the NL Central. So a very easy stretch right now where even if they sit 500 until Suzuki comes back, could very easily lead them going farther once he is back and be a big bat in the lineup. They also called up Alexander Canario, who played well in his 6 games last year with a 294 average, a double, a triple, and a home run.
The Pittsburgh Pirates have surprised fans once again this season, starting the 2024 campaign at 11-5. Although it looks as though this may be a breakthrough for the team that finished 4th in the NL Central in 2023. They did have a similar start to the season last year before falling back to earth. Brian, can this Pirates team consistently raise the Jolly Roger, or are they bound for the same fate as last year?
I'm going to lean right now towards same fate as last year. Unlike the Cubs, they really don't have that star power. Ke'Bryan Hayes and O'Neill Cruz are great, and Brian Reynolds really is kind of the top of their team. Besides that, it's not great, and some of those guys are still kind of coming up and not really coming into their own quite yet. They only have 2 players currently hitting over 280. Their best pitchers right now are Martin Perez and Marco Gonzalez. As far as ERA is concerned, you can't rely on 2 of those veterans who have consistently shown in their careers that they're not top of the rotation guys. They're going to need players like Jared Jones and Mitch Keller, who both have ERAs over 4 early in the season, which is not too much of a worry, but can be if they don't turn it around. And then it's been what the most concerning thing I think for them has been David Bednar. Really good closer, but has been shaky. His 3 blown saves in his first 5 attempts. If they're going to try and win games and close it out in a competitive NL Central, they're going to need him to be able to lock down.
Absolutely, and I mean, you mentioned that core, Ke'Bryan Hayes, O'Neill Cruz, Brian Reynolds. They have depth pieces right now that are picking up the slack. Connor Joe has had a fantastic April and March. Michael A. Taylor also towards the top and bottom of the lineup, wherever he's placed, he's been fantastic for them so far. But as you mentioned, if you can't rely on Bednar at the back of the bullpen, and you're going to kind of be scrambling to find ways to close games, it's going to be a little bit hectic for this Pirates team going forward.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the 2024 NBA playoff picture here on WTOP 10.
Would you like to try snacks from faraway lands? Or snacks with bizarre flavors? How about snacks in new ways? Or snacks you've never tried before? You don't have to go far to find these snacks. They can all be found here at Snacks on West 1st Street.
Yeah, we're walking around campus, and what do we see? All these clubs are looking.
They looking for me.
There's hockey,
There's improv,
so much to see. So let's go try them out and see how they be. Come on and please watch.
Our embarrassments free.
Tune in to Amateurs on WTOP.
Happy Friday, Lakers, and another beautiful day here in Oswego, New York. I'm DJ Don Perone, and I'm happy that you're starting your weekend off right listening to WNYO 88.9 FM, the Laker Radio Network.
I said, darling, can you see? There's no room for us. There's no room. Now our lives are changing. Promises keep slipping. And I always knew it wasn't you. It wasn't you. Now our lives are changing. Promises keep slipping. And I always knew it wasn't you. It wasn't you.
Back to Stick to Sports. In the Eastern Conference play-in, the 8-seeded Heat will head to Philly for the chance to play the Knicks. Winner of the Bulls and Hawks will take on the loser of the 7-8 game, and the winner of that heads to Boston. Ben, who's making it through to the play-in and into the full playoffs.
Ultimately, I don't think it's that tough of a decision especially in the East. I think the West is a little more of a toss-up, but the East right now, I think ultimately the Sixers are going to win this first game against the Heat. But then the Heat's going to roll over whoever is the winner of that 9-10 game versus the Hawks and the Bulls. Neither of those teams in the 9 and 10 are particularly eye-popping when it comes to the rest of the playoff teams. I think when you get into the West, the play-in teams are a little bit more polished than the ones in the East. But ultimately, I think coming away with this, 76ers game back Embiid. They're a team that could be a 4. They could be a 3 seed. But of course, with him being out for 2 months, they fell all the way down, and now they're in the play-in. I think they'll have no issue getting out of the play-in and into the full playoffs. And the Heat, they always end up turning it up in the playoffs. And I think the play-in is no different. They had the same issue last year, and they ended up making it to the NBA Finals. The Heat are definitely going to be that 8 seed coming out of the play-in.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. The 76ers are definitely going to be the team that head into New York. I think the Heat are headed to Boston, and it's going to be a really interesting playoffs all the way through the East. We'll get into the other matchups pretty soon.
In the Western Conference, we are set up to see the 7-seed Pelicans take on the 8-seed Lakers and the 9-seed Kings take on the 10-seed Warriors. Brian, how do you think these matchups will shake out, and who will take the final 2 spots in the West?
First things first, I think you're looking at the Lakers taking down the Pelicans in that first game. I think playoff LeBron in a 1-game series is just too much. That Lakers team is built well enough to take down this Pelicans squad in that first game, and I just don't think LeBron is going to lose a play-in game. He's going to push. He's going to try to make it into the full playoffs. From there, who knows? But he's not losing in the play-in. Then I do think it's going to be the Kings taking down the Warriors, and the Kings also making it through. I just think they have enough offensive firepower between De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, and just to push through and beat the Warriors, who are just kind of middling right now with their stars aging.
I kind of agree. I know the Warriors are aging. I think the Lakers still get through, as you said, but the Warriors are aging, but they have that experience. And so far this season, the Kings have not been as good as they were last year, and I think that's going to be very important because these two teams did face off against each other in the playoffs last year. I think the Warriors are the better team in this matchup. And then when it comes to the Pelicans, playing in that 7 versus 10 game, I think that the experience and just the greatness of Steph Curry probably will shine through there and send them into the playoffs.
The Suns and Timberwolves will face off in the first round of the West playoffs. The Suns underachieved this year after high hopes with Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. The Timberwolves, led by Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, shocked the league, finishing in 3rd in the West but had a shot for the 1 seed on the final day. How is this series playing out, and which squad is moving on?
I think this is a really interesting matchup between the Suns and the Timberwolves. Timberwolves have done fantastic in the Western Conference against Western Conference opponents. I believe they were 37-15 this season, but still they fell to that 3rd seed, and it's really, really intriguing because this team is pretty well built. A lot of great depth and a lot of great guys at the top, as you said, Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert. Just a lot of going there, but I don't think that they can get past the Suns. I think it'll be a great matchup, but I think the Suns take it.
Yeah, I'm right with you. Giving the Suns the offensive firepower is just there. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, all of them can go off for a 50-point night, and just to have the ability to lean on one of them into every different game, like every single game differently, will help. The Wolves are young and they're inexperienced. I think Rudy Gobert, his defensive prowess is huge, but there's no one really for him on the Suns to shut down.
The Mavericks and the Clippers are set to square off in a tightly contested matchup in the first round of the NBA playoffs. The Clippers finished the regular season with a record of 51-31, 1 game ahead of the 50-32 Mavericks. The Clippers trio of Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, and Paul George are looking to take down the duo of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. But late season injuries seem to be creeping into the Clippers roster. How will this first series go for either team, Brian?
I really like the Clippers in this series. I think you look at the matchup, the way the teams match up, and I think the Clippers have it. You're going to probably see Kawhi taking on Luka, and it's going to be a great matchup, great scorer versus a great defender. But then even when Kawhi's off the floor, PG can slide in. He's also a great defender. I think they're going to have a good time shutting down Luka and kind of forcing them to rely on their other scorers. And then Kyrie is going to have to step up other players. And I think the Clippers, similar to have the offensive power, but even going deeper into the bench, the defense for the Clippers will just be there.
Ultimately, I think this probably might be the closest matchup of all the first round matchups. But I think it's going to depend on the health of the Clippers. If the Clippers are not fully healthy, even if they play, like Kawhi Leonard, if he plays but he's still coming off an injury, I think the Mavericks are able to take advantage of that and take the series.
The Indiana Pacers finished with the 6th seed in the East and are headed to Milwaukee for an in-division first-round matchup. Tyrese Halliburton and deadline addition Pascal Siakam had the Pacers leading the league in points per game. The Milwaukee Bucks finished with the 3 seed, but switched coaches midseason to Doc Rivers, who only went 17-19 at the helm. Which of these Central Division squads is headed to the second round?
I mean, the Bucks are clearly the more experienced team when it comes to the playoffs, but they've not played the way that you'd expect them to under Doc Rivers, and I think that's going to play a huge factor in this game. And even with all the experience that Doc Rivers has in the playoffs, that the Bucks have in the playoffs, and I think the Pacers could be a sneaky team to get that upset in the first round. And it's going to be really fun to watch to see what Tyrese Halliburton does and how he performs in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. Tyrese Halliburton can very much lead this team scoring-wise. And then they brought in Pascal Siakam, who's been to the NBA Finals, who's won an NBA championship with the Raptors, as that second piece and the veteran leader for this squad. The offense is obviously just so explosive, leading the league in points. And then Bucks are just going to need Damian Lillard to go off. They're going to need multiple scorers besides just Giannis. Dame cannot go cold if they want to win. But I think the Pacers are going to be the upset of the first round in the entire playoffs.
The number 4 seed and number 5 seed matchup in the East will also be a tightly contested affair. The Magic are looking to put themselves on the map with a series victory over the Cavs, while Cleveland looks to bounce back from their first round exit last season. Brian, what do you expect from both of these teams in this matchup?
Look, it was a great season from the Magic, but they're young and they just don't have a lot of playoff experience. They really don't have that veteran leader. On the other side, for the Cavs, Mitchell and Garland are just such a dynamic duo. Evan Mobley will most likely be able to shut down Paolo Banchero through the entire series. And then Bickerstaff is coaching for his job. I think a lot of buzz around the league is that if they don't go far in this playoffs, he's probably going to be out as head coach of the Cavs. So I think he'll step it up too and just kind of game plan really well. The Cavs also have great bench scoring. So I just think the Cavs overall, the better squad here, are going to move on to the next round.
I mean, the Cavs have the experience. I think experience is so important when it comes to these playoffs, and especially against a young team. But the Cavaliers have struggled a lot against playoff teams throughout the entire season. A lot of those long stretches where they were beating a lot of teams, a lot of winning streaks, they were beating teams that aren't necessarily in the playoffs, so it's play-in teams or non-playoff teams. So I'm not as impressed, and I think the Magic could actually take this one. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Brian will be joined by one of our producers, Alex Brooks, here on WTOP 10.
Welcome back to Major Discussions.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Hey there, I'm Al Roker, class of 76. Yes, way back in 76. Back when the earth was cooling. You're watching WTOP.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. Joining me now is Alex Brooks, one of our producers. Alex, what do you have for us tonight?
Thank you, Brian. Let's continue our conversation with the NBA playoffs as the play-in games start tomorrow night. We know teams like the Suns, Knicks, and Celtics are heavily favored for a deep run. But Brian, I ask you this. Who is your fast break NBA dark horse playoff team?
I talked about that earlier, but I really like the Clippers right now. I know Ben had mentioned those injuries that they're kind of dealing with or no, but Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden all bring a lot of playoff experience, which is great from your three leaders. Kawhi is just such an excellent defender. He'll take away that top scorer for most of the game when he's on the floor. They were 12th, you see on the full screen, 12th in points per game. Offensively, 10th in defensive points per game. They're just such a well-rounded team. They bring in bench scoring like Norman Powell and Russell Westbrook usually coming off the bench for this team as well. They're just a lot of good pieces all on this team that can kind of make impacts, and the defense is there, which I think is huge. I mean, defense wins championships. That's the moniker. It's real.
Yeah, it really is real, and my dark horse candidate is the Philadelphia 76ers. You were talking about playoff experience with James Harden, Paul George. You also got experience with the reigning MVP, Joel Embiid. If he's healthy, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, those are the top players for the 76ers. I mean, they're doing really well right now. As you see with the full screen, they're 12th in points per game. And, I mean, they are doing really well right now. And it just seems like for the Sixers, they contend every single year. They just can't get to the conference finals. Let's move to the diamond now, as the homegrown stories are always a good conversation to have in sports. A lot of buzz surrounded Jackson Holliday of the Baltimore Orioles as he made his MLB debut last week. Brian, he recorded his first MLB hit last night, so I ask you, what do you predict Jackson Holliday's career will look like?
I mean, I think we're looking at a multiple-time All-Star. He's going to be a staple in this Orioles lineup for the next, I don't know how many years, especially with the new ownership. They're going to pay him. He'll get that contract as long as he proves himself. He rocketed through the minors. He played amazing in that short stint in AAA he had this year. He is right now with kind of just getting that first hit a few games into his season, showing the true gap between a AAA pitcher and the MLB pitchers. I think there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for him. But once he figures it out, I expect him to be kind of a 20-homer, 30 stolen base guy, even more with the new rules on the stolen bases, honestly. Hitting around 300 with a high on base, prototypical 1-2 hitter. He's going to be a staple right in front of Adley and Gunnar for this lineup for years to come. It's going to be so scary, this Orioles team with Jackson Holliday.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting, Brian. I mean, Jackson Holliday, I feel like he's going to be that five-tool player. I mean, I feel like he's going to be that one who's going to be leading off, and he's also just going to make impacts for the Orioles. I see this Orioles team, as you were mentioning, with Holliday, Gunnar Henderson, and Adley Rutschman. I feel like they're kind of like that super team that Houston Astros had, the homegrown teams with Correa, Altuve, and Bregman. Moving to another homegrown story, as the struggling 6-10 Seattle Mariners called up number 10 prospect Jonathan Clase from AAA to make his MLB debut tonight against the Reds. This move was made to try to add a spark to an underperforming Seattle squad. Brian, will the young speedster give the M's some flair in the Emerald City?
Yeah, so I think he will. He's being called up to replace Dominic Canzone, who was injured yesterday running into the outfield wall trying to make a catch. It's the speed, you mentioned it. You see it on the full screen there. 79 stolen bases in 94 attempts. That's a ridiculous number last year. The M's need a speed guy. They only have 5 stolen bases this season, 3 coming from Julio Rodriguez and 2 coming from Dylan Moore. They're going to need some more speed on the base path. It's becoming a part of the game again. It's going to give Luke Raley some more playing time, the guy they got from the Rays in the offseason as well, who I think will make a little bit of an impact. But Class A hitting .311 in the minors this season with over 1,000 OPS in the 12 games. If he develops, I think he could be a top of the lineup type guy, like a leadoff hitter, just like Jackson Holliday.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you get your opportunity to the majors, you better take it. I mean, he's a big speedster. He's going to get that stolen bases, .311 average in 12 games. This Seattle team needs that spark plug, a speed guy who can help you out down the stretch.
We're going to take a quick break here in Stick to Sports. Thanks once again to Alex for the fast break. When we come back, Ben, Alex, and I will head into extra innings. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Stick to Sports on WTOP 10.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Shine on that boy.
Look at the bling. Do we got a diamond tester on?
Yeah, that's getting bad. Yep.
10
out of 10 recommend on Yelp.
score going to the playoffs.
I can't believe I missed that. Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone.
What? I should take your phone away.
No. I'll call for a ride. Hey, why does my face look like that?
I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine.
I'm gonna need that back.
No.
Kevin!
And welcome back to Stick to Sports. Now let's get ready for another edition of everyone's favorite segment, Extra Innings. Now let's take a look at the extra inning standings. And guys, we were all 3-2. We were all at the same thing. We didn't pick the same games. I found out earlier when I was talking to Brian, but I mean, we're 3-2. I mean, it's getting a little close. I mean, I'm a little back there, but Ben, you're 17-8. Good
wow,
job
I'm
right
impressed
now.
with myself. I did really bad last semester, so I'm impressed.
There you go.
There we go. Well, we'll start this extra inning segment with some basketball. And as Kanye said, I guess that's a feeling only me and LeBron know, as LeBron James and the Lakers head to New Orleans, thanks Mike, to play the Pelicans. Brian, who's headed to the playoffs?
Like I said earlier, I like the Lakers in this one. I think LeBron in a one-game playoff is going to just lead that team. He's going to take it over, maybe even a triple-double night for him.
I absolutely agree, Brian. I mean, I think we both agreed earlier that the Lakers were going to take this one. I think they're simply the better team than the Pelicans. They just played yesterday. I think that they can do it again on Wednesday.
Yeah, I agree with you both. I'm going to take the Lakers. You were mentioning earlier, Brian, that the Lakers, LeBron's not going to lose this play-in tournament.
No.
So let's move over to our next matchup, the number 10 Golden State Warriors versus the number 9 Kings. Ben, who we got in this one?
Yeah, another game that we were just talking about before. I'm going to take the Warriors in this one. I just think that experience that the Warriors have in the playoffs, I also think that they're just a little bit better than the Kings. Doesn't mean the Kings aren't a good team, but I just don't think they have enough gas to make it through the play-in tournament.
I personally like the Kings in this one. I think offensive star power, offensive firepower that they have with De'Aaron Fox is going to be huge, and Draymond Green's going to pull some shenanigans and get him kicked out of the game.
Yeah, maybe so, but I'm going to go with the experience on this one, so I'm going to agree with you, Ben. Number 10 Warriors are going to take this one. We're going to move over to the Miami Heat versus the number 7 76ers, number 8 Heat versus 76ers. Sixers are favored at 4.5. Brian, who we got?
Give me the 76ers in this one. Joel Embiid is going to go off. He's came back from injury. He's looked pretty good. The Sixers are going to lead this team. They were, like you said earlier, they should have been like a 4 seed this year.
Absolutely. I mean, if not for Joel Embiid being out for 2 months, the 76ers team is one of the best in the Eastern Conference. So I see no reason as to why they can't win this first game in the play-in tournament. And honestly, if they don't, they're going to win the next one. So they will be in the playoffs no matter what.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to take the 76ers on this one. I talked about it in C Block, so I am definitely going to ride high with Philly. So we'll move over to our next matchup, number 10 Atlanta Hawks versus the number 9 Chicago Bulls. Eastern Conference here. Ben, who do we got?
This isn't a great matchup, I gotta say. I mean, the Hawks, you know, they haven't played fantastic this year, but they have that experience. The Bulls also having some experience, but both these teams have not really lit it up that much on offense this season. I'm going to have to take the Bulls. They've just played a little better against playoff teams.
I'm going to go with the Hawks. I'm a Hawks guy. Personally, I'm a Hawks fan. Trae Young's back. He'll do something in the playoffs. He seems to pop off in the playoffs, so give me the Hawks and Trae Young.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Atlanta. I'm going to go with the number 10 Hawks on this one. We're going to move over to our final matchup, some NHL here. The Capitals and Flyers are still fighting for some playoff seeding. So, Brian, take us home with this last one.
I'm going to be quick. Alex Ovechkin and the Capitals heading to the playoffs. Give me.
I mean, I completely agree. The Flyers have been in a tailspin. I'm taking the Capitals.
Yeah, 3 for 3 on the Washington Capitals here.
Yeah, the Flyers have been in a tailspin. So you can't.
Yeah, they have.
Right now, they don't have a set goaltender. They got Fedotov from Russia, but he hasn't looked fantastic in his first few starts. So I don't really have much trust in him against the Capitals.
No, yeah, Capitals definitely. Ovechkin. But that's all the time we have on this episode of Stick to Sports. Be sure to tune in next week right here on WTOP 10.